What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded Geek Breakdown Wednesday night edition. I am Lore Reloaded, the one, the only, the gracious host that is here to talk to you guys about, well, whatever we're going to sit here and talk about. While I'm waiting for this to update and people to get here, hey, a couple of things to throw out to you. Don't forget to check me out at Twitter. Twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. Should anything happen to this channel, that is definitely where you're going to need to go to figure out what is going on. Also, you can check me out at twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. Tomorrow, I will be playing Star Wars The Old Republic, and then we'll be doing some Star Trek Online very shortly because I wasn't able to do the fleet operations on Tuesday like I wanted to. So, as you guys know, I'm just going to say hi to a couple of people and see what's going on. Then we'll go from there. Now, if I'm being honest, I wasn't completely sure what I wanted to talk about today. So I figured I'd leave it up to you guys. Figured I'd say, start it up, see what's going on. And of course, alerts aren't coming out, so this may be a short one since no one's going to know about it. But today, we got Anthony Dukes as always. Anthony, always a pleasure to have you here, good sir. Yurio Kitten, welcome. Captain George in his house. We got Thod Nerm. So it's always a party when Thod Nerm is here. I mean, just to be honest. By the way, let me know how the audio is coming. Of course, if you guys want to see some of the fun animations I got, like this one. Wait for it. Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, just let me know about it. But yeah, so let's just hang out. Earlier this morning, we were talking about a couple of things. For those who didn't know, I did a lore in the past. And earlier this morning, we were kind of discussing, well, quite a few things, to be honest. But we went out of our way to go into the Omega Directive, more talk about... No, I don't want to join that. Talk about the Maquis. I got into terrorism a little bit, just all the fun things. And I guess when it comes to breaking down stuff, it honestly sometimes gets a little hard for me because usually it feels like there's a couple of different kinds of science fiction that try to all intermix but can't. So for instance, you have like Aliens or Aliens versus Predators or The Expanse. Really dystopian, really pretty down and out. And then you have just like the reverse of that in Star Trek, which is more upbeat, more resounding. I don't know. It's really hard, honestly, when you try to connect things like that, or you try to compare things, because it's comparing apples to oranges. And again, I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are. I love the fact that YouTube is having issues. And it's not alerting people. That's just annoying the hell out of me. Let's discuss why the Miranda class was still used right up to and through the Dominion War. I think it was upgraded from Kirk's era. Well, we could discuss that. Or we could discuss, what I was talking about, Darren Wagner, if that is your real name, good sir. I mean, the reason they use... we know the real life reason, because it's cheaper to use that, right? But when it comes to why they used it overall, I think it's kind of like the Nebula class. Anytime you have a poor man's replacement of whatever the flagship is or the main ship is, they make it extend and last for as long as it can go, right? And the in-universe explanation, which makes sense to me, is that they were just able to extend the life of it, that it was highly upgradable, highly modifiable. I'm open to conversation or questions or what you guys think when it comes to that, but that would be my guess. Now, why would the Miranda class be highly modifiable, but the Constitution class or the Enterprise class not be? Is anyone's real guess. I mean, the only thing I would think is the reason why they didn't use the Constitution class chassis anymore would be out of respect for the Enterprise, that they wouldn't want so many of those flying around. And it may not have been the easiest to modify, especially when you look at the Constitution class versus the Miranda class. The Miranda class seems like it would be easier to update because it's closer together, whereas that older model still just has the the elongated neck, and the nacelles, and things of that nature. Or another option is we simply don't see a lot of Constitution classes, but they were actually there. I concur. I think the Mirandas were made by a different company than the Constitution. I mean, that's definitely possible. Sci-Fi Sith Dan, what is this video going to be about? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? As I said when I started out, I wanted to do a Geek Breakdown, but I wasn't really sure what specifically. I started out talking about dark science fiction versus light science fiction, like Expanse versus Star Trek, or Aliens versus Star Trek, but I honestly am just keeping it open. If this doesn't go well tonight, I'll probably have specific topics we talk about, especially since YouTube isn't alerting people at all. Functional, another show today. Lore, you spoil us. Well, I'm trying some new stuff. I want to do more videos. Plus, if you like hanging out, Functional, go to twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. I actually do it any night I'm not on here. I'm usually over there playing some games and hanging out. And it's a lot more relaxed than these shows. But I'm trying something new. I want to do a morning and a night on Wednesdays. I may also do that on, well, I'm definitely going to do nights on Sundays. Darren Wagner, I don't think there is enough lighter sci-fi right now. You know, there is light, more light-hearted fiction out there, but it's really gone the way of the superheroes. It's gone the way of the Marvel. Even when you look at things like Infinity Wars or Civil War, it's a little bit darker, but really, if you want lighthearted, if you want fantastical, then you're going to need to look at Marvel heroes, or Marvel, and look at heroes. The Orville is about it. Yeah, the Orville's lighthearted. I like the Orville, but honestly, it's TNG times 2. A retake, or the redoing of TNG. Uriel Kitten, does Star Trek have any creepy episodes? It has a ton of creepy episodes, especially the ones where they try to do episodes about molestation and rape and stuff. That just never works out well for them. They never call it that, but it's always creepy and always comes off weird. Plus Discovery. Discovery has a ton of creepy stuff. Yeah, oh yeah, I suppose if we include the superhero stuff, then yeah, there's plenty, says Darren Wagner. But that's not science fiction necessarily. That's not what I would consider science fiction. It's fiction for sure, but it's not typically what I would define as science fiction. Brian J. 1962 in the house. Always nice to see you, Brian J. Sci-Fi Sith Dan, I have began to watch or checked out the Transformers Prime TV show. P.S. It's a good show. I've watched the originals, but I haven't ever specifically watched any of the newer ones. I haven't even watched all the movies. Funny enough, for not being alerted, this was the first recommendation on my feed, says Patrick Mize. Well, good. Even though the blasted thing, it's not sending out alerts, which is just frustrating me. And I couldn't upload for a long time. I mean, YouTube is just knocking it out of the park. Just like completely knocking it out of the park, in my opinion. Darren Wagner, oh, you mean the typical Troy? Well, it's not just Troy. They do it to males, too. And in both Enterprise and Discovery, they do it to males. So I guess we've reached that equal opportunity threshold. But, yeah, I mean, anytime they try to do things like that, and they infer just these negative connotations out of everything, you know? It was honestly very creepy for me. We've talked about this before, but when you had Trip from Enterprise, he got pregnant and he was tricked into it, and all of the crew of the Enterprise made it out to be a joke. Darren Wagner disagreeing like he always does. That's okay. You're welcome to disagree and be wrong. I mean, I'm with you, brother. Patrick Mize, Doctor Who ebbs from light to dark. I'm curious if this new season is going to be lighter with an all-new cast. I haven't seen any of this ever since it moved from Tennant to the Doctor after Tennant. I watched a little bit of him, almost all of it, actually. And then I moved into after that Doctor. Man, the fact I can't remember their names says a lot about my interest in Doctor Who. But I haven't watched anything, especially with the newest Doctor, if it's even come out. It just hasn't really been my cup of tea. So, Yeah, Darren, we've had this conversation before. I'm not really going to get all that much into you. Having sex with a person and them not knowing it, and that person getting pregnant, is a form of rape. It simply is. It's non-consensual. It's the definition. I mean, I'm not really going to go too much further into it than that. Now, you may disagree with me. That's fine, and you're welcome to put your disagreement in there. I would invite anybody to watch that episode and make up their own mind. No. Yeah, they did. They did have sex. Don't forget 7 was violated. Borg probe stolen, but actually not. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that wasn't... It was still a violation. A big violation, right? So, yeah, Star Trek can be very creepy in that. And the problem is that when they do these episodes, they try to keep it lighthearted. At least in all of the series except for Discovery. And in Discovery, they somewhat hit it head on. So, I mean, you have to see... you have to respect that to a degree. But, you know, it's just... creepy, to say the least. And you don't see that in other... I mean, even in, like, darker fiction, I think they treat it a little bit better. But again, it's probably where Star Trek is coming off from, you know? Because they're trying to be upbeat. It's the future. It's supposed to be this paradise. And when you try to include episodes like that, then it is. Deep Space Nine had a really creepy one, too, once you really think about it. And I think we've had this conversation, too, where the Terran Empire... So you have Cisco captured and taken to the Mirror Universe. And he has to pretend to be Cisco from the Mirror Universe. And so Cisco from the Mirror Universe has a relationship with Dax, a sexual relationship with Dax. And so Prime Cisco has sex with Dax, even though Dax technically thinks she's having sex with somebody else. And then he just smiles about it when she catches him. Sci-Fi Sith Dan. If you want some information on doing a Transformer Prime TV show series on characters or story arcs, Geek Breakdown videos, check the Transformers Prime fan website. I might, but that's somewhat outside of the scope of what I do generally on Lore Reloaded. So I probably won't be going that far. I may, but most likely not. And then we have more Battletech. More Battletech actually should be coming next week. And hopefully from there. I just watched the TNG episode Up the Long Ladder, and I was surprised at how the Enterprise D treated the clone colony as second-class people. It's been a while. It's been a while since I watched that. I remember that episode vaguely, but if they were all clones, they treated them poorly. You know, The Next Generation never really did well with clones specifically. For instance, you had both, what was it, Riker and Pulaski that killed their clones who had nothing to do with the creation. So, I mean, they never really did treat clones well at all when you think about that. For all of their trying to be open and progressive and everything. Who doesn't have a sexual relationship in the Mirror Universe? That is true. That is true. I think for creepy Star Trek, one from Voyager where everyone is asleep and 709 is awake. Saw that again a few weeks back, and it's properly scary sometimes. What about... isn't that the one where they do it as a ghost story? Where you have Neelix telling the kids what was going on and things? Or was that a different one? No, that may have been a different one. The 7 of 9 one, I do remember that, though, was where her Borg technology and equipment started deteriorating as well. Let me ask you this. If that's the one I remember, wasn't Tom trying to get out of his the cryobed or whatever it was? Did that actually happen? Because I don't remember if if it was just her mind playing tricks with her, or he actually did try to get out of the cryobed. It never really tells you which one it did. They seemed pretty okay with Riker's teleporter clone. Yeah, I mean, but that would be the exception. I'm not sure they treated as second-class citizens, but I do remember that the clones tried to steal some DNA from the away team. I remember that. And that's where they killed their own clones, I think, because they needed more DNA and stuff. I'm surprised that your YouTube channel has not been canceled. Hopefully they won't. Man, if they canceled my YouTube channel, I would be in a bad spot, because this is what I do for a living, so that would suck. I do still like Up the Long Ladder. Riker was a total cad in that one, making time with the ornery Irish babe. He's always a cad. He's always been played pretty sadistically, I guess, or pretty blasé. He was supposed to be the answer to Kirk in some ways, and sometimes he can come off as a real jerk, especially to Barclay. You know, I like Riker overall, but some people don't, and I can absolutely see why. He comes off as an absolute jerk in some examples. Patrick Mize, yes, Tom Paris kept escaping out of his cryobed because he was claustrophobic. They said that they had to put him back at the end of the episode. Okay, I didn't know if that was happening in her mind or not, though. Shouldn't he have been knocked out? So I don't know how he's getting claustrophobic. What's going on, Admiral Savo? The old way of looking at clones will say, or just a personal violation, they were not people themselves. Yeah, but by all accounts and meanings, they are. Whether you think it's right or not, whether what you thought was correct is incorrect. Once you've cloned somebody and they're fully cloned, they are a separate person. As we said, we see that with the Riker clone. They're completely new people. And so killing them in cold blood is wrong. Even if you think it's right. I mean, just look at human history. We've, in our past, have done tons of things that we have thought was right, ultimately ended up being wrong. Darren Wagner, Riker's one of my least favorite Star Trek characters, but he has his moments, I will admit. Most characters have their moments, I think. Even in Discovery and things, most characters have their moments. You know, for better or for worse, honestly. And at least when it comes to clones, you're not like this.
I hate them!
Yeah. Exactly. I think that was well served. Riker and Pulaski effectively aborted their own clones before they were born. No, weren't they fully formed? No, I'm sorry, I'm using voice transcription. It did not pick that up correctly. I meant the writers viewed them only as personal violations. Sure. And that, you know, again, I understand that mentality, but still, within the writing, it's still wrong, in my opinion. Sorry I'm late, but your stream during my Expanse. Oh, is Expanse on right now? I always watch it in the streaming. So, yeah, Expanse needs to stop and let my stuff finish, and then they can start back. I mean, come on. I literally, if Expanse comes back, it was due to me. I literally saved the day when it comes to Expanse. You're ascribing that everyone thinks a singular life is inherently sacred. It's as I see the meat farming industry. If a creature, in this case is a clone, is created to be farmed, that's its purpose. Yeah, I put sentient beings as defined by humanity and some aliens. I ascribe them to have meaning and value even over animals and stuff. And I think that's pretty consistent in our societies. And so that's why I would do that. Dr. Phlox also had an episode where he was the only one awake and started to hallucinate. Almost killed the captain's dog also. Well, thank God that he didn't do that. The Federation of Starfleet Prime Directive is to a degree wrong, as well as the Omega Directive. So you're going to have to explain that one to me, Sci-Fi Sith Dan. What do you mean? How is it wrong? I would feel claustrophobic on a starship, even something as big as the Enterprise. Well, yeah, I mean, it's easy to feel claustrophobic and concerned when you're effectively in a tin can that is a air bubble, surrounded by nothing but stuff that will get you killed. So I would feel very nervous and concerned on a starship as well, especially when you consider all the things out there that can destroy starships and not even meaning to, right? I would feel pretty nervous and concerned myself. So I'm right there with you when it comes down to that. Whoop, wrong button. Oh no. There should be more dogs on starships. That was underrated on Enterprise. Yeah, they probably stopped allowing that. I liked having, what was it? What was his name? Pathos? The dog on there? I think he did add a little bit to the fact that it was new, that they were first starting out. Just having animals on a starship seems rustic. It seems very not Star Trek, not what we've seen from Starfleet. Especially when it comes to a dog. I know we see animals. Let me correct that. Actually, I stand corrected. Because on The Next Generation, we see that. I don't know. With the dog, with Porthos, the dog, it just felt more rustic. But they did have animals on TNG, so I guess I stand corrected. Darren Wagner, I'm a submarine veteran. You get used to being in an enclosed environment. Either that or you have a psychotic episode. See, for me, it's a psychotic episode. From the word go. Patrick Mize till Scotty beamed away Archer's dog. Yeah, it's true. And they never saw it again. Honestly, how stupid could you be to... how stupid could you be to teleport the dog, even if you were absolutely sure? Picard had a fish. Data had an ever-changing cat. Did the cat change? Because I never noticed that, honestly. That's hilarious if the cat changed. Okay, Stofsk. I don't remember any cat in Deep Space Nine, but I'll take your word for it. They didn't have any animals in Discovery, I don't think. They had whales on The Next Generation. Man, what am I thinking? They had whales on the Enterprise in The Next Generation. Wow. Picard's fish should have been eaten by Proto-Riker. In a planned or deleted scene, Porthos was supposed to return at the end of the 2009 Star Trek film. Well, that would have been cool, but it was unfortunately deleted, so Porthos is forever gone. Instead of a ship full of tribbles, I would love a ship full of puppies and kittens. You would never get anything done, though. I mean, what is going on with that? But yeah. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to do another Lore in the Past. Probably won't have a video coming out. And then Friday, we'll be talking about the Omega Directive, which will be cool. But I'm going to break that one into 3. The first one is just going to be talking about Janeway. Janeway, actually, after rewatching that episode, I came out in favor of Janeway. I don't think she did anything wrong for the most part. Their lack of concern or care for the civilization that they doomed was concerning. But beyond that, I honestly found myself agreeing with Janeway, which was just crazy in my estimation, you know? But yeah, I mean, we'll probably end this one pretty early, even for me. Beyond that, did you guys have anything you want to discuss? What's going on? Anthony Duke's up in the house. Anything you wanted to go over? I probably... that's my cat. I'll probably have specific topics going forward because I think you guys prefer that. Anthony Duke's Janeway was the best. O'Brien had a pet tarantula. Man, screw that. Yeah, I remember in TNG he had a pet tarantula. If I were O'Brien, I would have let that thing blow itself to hell because he was talking about how he was he had to go and fix a some kind of tech and he was surrounded by spiders. And for me, to hell with that, it can blow itself up. How's the cat? Cat's doing fine. He was trying to eat and decided to flip over his food bowl because, I mean, why the hell wouldn't you flip over your food bowl, right? I liked Mirror Porthos, a Rottweiler. Mirror Porthos was a Rottweiler? Patrick Mize would keep us more on topic. Yeah, I just thought I'd try something new. We had never done it before, so I thought I would just attempt something new to see see how it would go. Have it maybe an open skate. Is there anything on what happens to Janeway in the alternate universe? I don't understand what alternate universe are you speaking of. Mirror universe? Probably she's just a Terran like anyone else and is under the boot of the Alliance. Mirror Janeway would probably be Warship Voyager first. I honestly think Mirror Janeway, in realistically, Mirror Janeway was probably effectively the Maquis. And so she was being hunted by Chakotay, who was working for the Alliance. Chakotay captures her. They get taken to the Delta Quadrant. And ultimately, Chakotay is in charge. And they try to make their way home. Darren Wagner, Mirror Janeway would have been a good captain. That's hilarious. What about the episode where the Voyager shuttle breaks the Warp 10 barrier, Threshold, so what about Threshold, and Paris kidnaps Janeway and they become lizard people and have babies, all for them to never mention it ever again. Not only are they captured and they have babies, but they then reverse the process of being lizards that are, what, yay big, and completely restructure them back to humans. And then it never comes up again, ever. Yeah. People should talk about that one first season Voyager episode where those friendly aliens have a transporter that can move you 4,000 light years instantly. Didn't that break Star Trek tech? I don't think that breaks Star Trek tech at all, no. We even have in Deep Space Nine, I think they had the Iconian portals. Were they Iconian? They had the portals that could take you anywhere you wanted to go. So I don't think it breaks Star Trek technology. Because it existed. When Starfleet members visits an uninhabited planet, could they potentially introduce bacteria to a planet? Sure. Anytime they get to a planet that they're unaware of. Now, in theory, they could scan it and maybe would know if there would be any negative impacts or anything like that. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. They would cause and change things. The butterfly effect. Only this stream talks about Threshold. That is correct. In the mirror universe, does the Keeper send a bunch of Delta Quadrant ships to the Alpha Quadrant instead? Yeah, the Keeper is actually pulled by the Terran Empire. Anyone else remember the episode where Voyager was caught in the gravity well of some M-class planet, and due to how fast the planet rotated, time went by 10 times faster than on Voyager? You know, I think it was SF Debris who does a great breakdown. It was either SF Debris or Anti-Tracker, maybe Anti-Tracker, who actually breaks down the time and how the timing doesn't work based on what they said. What's going on, Mr. Pete Channel? That was an interesting... That was an interesting episode. Some say that it was stolen, though. That the idea was completely stolen from a book and stuff. And some say it was homage. And it goes back and forth on that. What's going on, 14K Leon? Hope you doing well, good sir. Don't know if I said hi to you already, but I'm going to say hi to you again. So what's some creepy Trek episodes? I think a lot of Discovery is creepy. Especially when they talk about what happened to... the science officer. I find that incredibly creepy. And then, I've already talked about Deep Space Nine, the Terran Empire. A lot of the episodes in the Terran Empire were creepy to me, in my opinion. Especially what they did with Sisko's son. And again, the way Sisko treats Dax. I'll tell you one that was Trouble with Triples. Trouble with Triples wasn't that creepy. It was an odd one. Triples are born pregnant. Yeah, that's I don't even know how that would work. Maybe they explained it, but I have no idea. And I was thinking the conspiracy wasn't creepy to me. It was just gore porn, in my opinion. Rough Collies Rock, hey, another stream, awesome, man. Yeah, I'm trying something new where I do 2 streams on Wednesday, along with an upload. I don't know if that's going to hurt the statistics, though, on my other videos, because with people not watching all of them and just choosing one randomly. Again, I'm trying out some new stuff because I want to push and make sure that I continue to succeed. So let me know what you guys think about it. Sent you the Mirror Porthos meme alpha page link via Facebook. Well, let's go on Facebook, take a look. I'll share it if I like it. Give me a quick second. That would not be it. Mirror Porthos. I don't remember that. Huh. Yeah, it looks like Mirror Porthos was a Rottweiler. Though that kind of makes me mad, honestly. I'm a huge fan of animals. So the fact that they're kind of pushing the stereotype that Rottweilers are some kind of horrific breed kind of irritates me. So, I don't know. Sub Rosa was creepy as hell. I don't remember what Sub Rosa, or Sub Rasa. I don't remember what that one was. I wish we never got to see an episode that showed what it's like on a Ferengi ship. I wish we never got to. The closest thing we got was DS9, Little Green Men. I think... Oh, excuse me. Wow. I think it'd be boring, honestly. At least that's what it came off to me. That it would just be incredibly boring to see what was on a Ferengi ship. Yeah, Prophet and Lace where Quark cross-dresses. That... Yeah... That one was insulting, too. At first, I thought it was more progressive, that it was a push. But the more I think about it, the more I find it pretty horrifying, honestly. And the actor who played Quark regrets doing that episode, too. Subrasa was the Crusher getting haunted by a ghost. Yeah, so, I mean, when you look at TNG can be incredibly creepy just looking at how they treated women. Especially when women got drunk, or when women's responses to males and things like that, for a progressive show. And that was a really big one, too, where she was haunted and she had this lover and things. And then her dead grandma comes back, I think, which... was a fun experience. I mean, she would have had to go through therapy after that. I think it would be interesting if a future captain of the Enterprise kept a horse on board. That would be epic. A horse on board would be epic. I completely and utterly agree. And even though it doesn't seem like it would make sense, it would make perfect sense. It would make all the senses. How about the Inner Light? Hey, let's make Picard live an entire life he desired, only for it to be a way for an extinct species be acknowledged for existing. Was it in there that he wanted to live that life? I mean, they forced him through it. But I guess if he liked that life more than being Picard, I guess that would be cruel. The TNG episode where people were being kidnapped and being mutilated by aliens was creepy. And they were... Yeah, and that was the one with Riker where they were taking off arms and stuff. And they never really figured out what was going on either, right? I don't even remember that. A versus match. Wesley Crusher versus Michael Burnham. I honestly like Michael Burnham more than I like Wesley Crusher. Yeah. Picard kept his saddle on board. You know, that would have been interesting if they did keep the horses on there. At Lore Related, is it just me, or is there an Enterprise episode with Vulcan zombies? Also, another one that I remember is the TNG one where Worf bites Troy and she turns into a fish thing. They weren't Vulcan zombies. I think they were just crazed because they were in the Expanse. Is it the Expanse? I like Lorca. And yeah, and then what was that, Evolution or whatever when it comes to Troy. If you kept a horse on board, then you would have to use that you'd have to use for that saddle. You'd have a use. Well, in theory, they have the holodeck, which would be a use for the saddle, honestly. The game TNG was creepy. Everyone gets addicted. Yeah, so the game TNG wasn't only creepy, it was insulting. The game was supposed to attack video games and how video games were addictive and were hurting society and things like that. It was just absolutely stupid. And again, they used Crusher. I'm not the hugest fan of Crusher. Not a lot of people are. But it's for stuff like that that really gets him a lot of hate. Skin of Evil wasn't that creepy, in my opinion, but it was very disrespectful to the actress, and I don't think they really did her any favors bringing her back the way they did either, though that's kind of an interest. Well, let me rephrase. Skin of Evil was disrespectful to the actress they killed. And when they bring her back in Yesterday's Enterprise, I really like that. I thought that was very cool. But after that, making her a Romulan, I'm not a big fan. I liked the game. They chased down Wesley. That's true. They did. Now the image of a horse trotting along the decks of the Enterprise, leaving the inevitable piles of horse crap at random decks for some poor sap to clean it up. I mean, someone has to take care of those whales, right? So I don't see how that's any kind of different in any way, if you ask me. By the way, Darren, it's not a big deal. You can talk about anything you want to, man. Don't ever worry about. I mean, we're here to have a conversation. I don't care. You don't ever have to apologize. The most creepy episode of Stargate for me was the pilot episode with that creepy parasite coming out of the woman's stomach. Ugh. Okay. She's the only blonde Romulan too. Is she the only blonde Romulan? I guess she is. I haven't really ever watched that. Huh. Alright, guys, so there be whales here. Yeah, so I think I'm going to have defined topics going forward. Though, again, I don't like rehashing stuff. So that's my concern, because you can only talk about so many things so much. I may try to branch out, but then people don't show up unless it has Star Trek in it. So, I don't know. Lore Reloaded. How about the DS9 episode where they need a part from the Impact Nor and Garrick gets influenced by a chemical that makes Cardassians aggressive? I liked that one. It's intriguing to me. I did actually like that episode. I also found it kind of cool, I would suppose, when they have continuity. Because if you watch Nog after that episode, it takes him a while to completely trust Garrick after that. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The Vok and Taylor arc. That is creepy as hell, and it's unnecessary for Trek, in my opinion. It is basically, it is. Let's see, where is it? What am I looking for? It's this, in my opinion. This.
What the fuck was that? Ah!
Yeah. Well, the thing I like about Psycho Garrick was Psycho Garrick versus O'Brien was a good matchup. Especially since O'Brien had been a soldier, but he had left that. He'd become an engineer. I liked how O'Brien outthought Garrick. You could always make the topics vague and let the group direct the conversation. Huh. Oh, that's a good idea. Probably what I do right now. Except for this one. In my opinion, in episodes TNG, DS9, and Voyager, yellow shirts died more than the red, and it's not just security yellow shirts. Okay. Lore, tell us about the Discovery Season 2 trailers. Nope, you're not going to get me. I already still have a headache from this morning. If you didn't watch this morning's episode, I actually literally hit my head on this. I'm not doing that again. What if you do a stream of what citizen in the Star Trek universe think of everything? Kind of paint a real-world perspective of the show. I honestly think most citizens in the Federation think everything's great, that it's paradise. Why wouldn't they? They live in a post-scarcity society where they're told how everything is wondrous and how nothing ever negative impacts them on most planets. You only ever see it start to get bad when they move to like Bajor, to the outskirts. I always thought the Quickening was a creepy and dark DS9 episode. The Quickening was on par for what we see in a lot of DS9 episodes, so I didn't really find it all that creepy. They need holographic security teams on starships post-Dominion War. I think that's what they did on the, is it the Prometheus? Is the Prometheus class I'm thinking about? Because they only have 5 people on that ship. So, yeah, and holo projectors on all decks. Most all of them have to be holo projections. Is it true Miles was going to be a double agent? I don't know. Yeah, the non-continuity of Spock never mentioning who adopted Siscat lore. Yeah, that made me mad. So angry. Lore. Tell us the Federation HQ is in Paris or San Francisco. It's obviously in California. Everybody knows that. Travis, a sponsor of the channel. By the way, guys, if you'd like to support the channel, keep the lights on and ensure I continue to do thousands of live streams and uploading videos, you could consider becoming a sponsor. In the chat in the top, you'll see sponsor. Just click on it. And you also get to do all kinds of cool things like emojis. Travis, if you type lore, you can actually use the lore emoji now, which is this one right here. I'm going to put it right here. And only sponsors can use it, and there's going to be more coming out. Now, Travis, what do you have to say? I always thought the Vorta exchange for Moogie in DS9 was kind of creepy when they set him up like a tech zombie. Indeed. Indeed. Lore Reloaded, have you ever wanted to write a Star Trek novel? Not in the slightest. I would be interested in participating in a fan fiction movie or a fan-funded movie, but I would not in the slightest want to write a novel, no. I'm curious what your opinion on the vampire episode where the alien woman fed off Jake Sisko when he wrote his stories. That was indeed pretty creepy. I would agree. And it felt wrong, because was Jake even over the age of 18? Because that had a very sexual vibe to it. Yeah. Can you do video game lore at some point? I have, in fact, done some video game lore. I may do some more in the future, Rough Collies. I have done some World of Warcraft video game lore. Not necessarily lore. I did a lore crafting. I did a what if. It's one of my very early videos, though. Lore, your channel is superior. Anti-Trucker has been slacking. Man, I could have told you that. I could have told you that, good sir. What about the concept of the Flood from Halo in a nutshell? I mean, the space thoughts. That's horrible. The Flood, that's BAU. There's nothing specific or interesting or different about the Flood that we don't see from other games or in terms of those. It's honestly pretty cliche in that matter. Now, I like the Flood. I think it's interesting. I like the Halo storylines, especially the expanded universe. You should read the novels. Definitively read the novels. They are so well written. And I like how you have this common thread bringing the Covenant and humanity against the Flood. So I thought that was interesting. But when it comes to the overall thoughts of them themselves, it's just any other enemy, just like the Zerg. Should the Federation have battleships to defend themselves? Yes. And attack their enemies with overwhelming firepower, like the Arizona-class battleship on Trek yards. They actually somewhat do, Sci-Fi Sith Dan. When you look at the way they respond, Fall of Reach novel is great, even though it has some continuity issues now. I love Fall of Reach. The way the Federation works, once you've moved past TNG pacifism, is that they never throw the first punch, but when they do throw their punch, it's generally fatal. Or they try to make it fatal. So they somewhat do that, especially after TNG and into DS9, and I would say during the original series. In my opinion, I think the most creepy episode of Star Trek are the ones that are the most human, ones regarding loss, grief, and illusions of living full lives. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, okay. Voyager Course Oblivion is extremely creepy. Sad. The saddest episode in an opinion. Voyager's Course Oblivion? I don't remember that one. So Voyager Course Oblivion. let's see. As Voyager crew member begin dying, they make a starting... Oh, yeah, I remember that. That's where they are... It's not the actual crew. They thought they were. They're an alien species. That was sad since you knew how it would go at the beginning. Honestly, I hoped they would make it. You know, watching Paris just... Voyager, the actors and actresses of Voyager can be such good... can do very well at their craft. You know, Paris is a great actor. B'Elanna is a great actor. Janeway is a great actor. And I think they really do well in that episode. And you really feel you want them to survive. And so when they don't survive, it's sad. And I would agree with that. It's pretty sad. Jadzia's Dax, best Trek girl, followed closely by 7 of 9. Dax was attractive. I don't know who the most attractive would be, though. I don't know. I've run out of things to talk about, in all honesty. Help! Janeway made sure they would all die. The crew was a liquid and forgot where they came from and took on the mantle of the Voyager crew. And not only that, they created a warp system that worked and were about to get home, and that warp system killed them all off. They had the opportunity to land on a planet and be safe, but decided not to attack or kill the alien species, and that ultimately killed them off. Also, another episode is the introduction of the Prime Directive. Dear Doctor, they had the cure to the alien's fatal medical problem. Yeah, that was just stupid. That was Phlox and Archer being stupid. They're idiots. And it was poorly written, and it was very disappointing. And they have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to evolution. Evolution does not work the way Phlox thinks it is, which makes sense in that he doesn't know how to use most... common medical practices in that age, and usually relies on homeopathy. I am not surprised that a guy who relies on homeopathy has no idea how evolution works, since how our medicine is put together is highly based on evolution. Oberth for sale. One driver, low miles, cold air, working slushy machine, $14 or best offer. What about scrapped Kelvin timeline idea of unborn Kirk being transported out of the womb while the Kelvin was being destroyed? I'd never even heard about that. What are my thoughts on that? Weird. I don't know why they would do that. Yeah, it doesn't add anything at all. So I don't know why they would do that. Yeah, that's my thought. Sounds silly to me. Darth Maul talking about when the crew who thought they were Voyager weren't and died. True, and it was so sad to find that the actual true Voyager finds basically the remains of this crew floating in space and has no clue what they're looking at. Well, and they had made this time capsule, and the time capsule failed, and they weren't able to get it out. And you just see how devastated Harry Kim is. It is a very sad episode. Why would you guys make me think of that? Laura, if you weren't married, would you have lizard babies with Janeway? No. No, I would not have lizard babies with Janeway. At all. Like, in the slightest. I don't know that I'd have real babies with Janeway. I mean, nothing personal. She probably wouldn't have real babies with me. So, I mean, Janeway's attractive. She's fine. I'm just not all that interested. Yeah, Harry finally made captain. The only way for Harry to make captain is for everyone to die and him be on a failing ship. Tuvok was the best substitute captain. Indeed. Tuvok was a good captain. There was a funny video where it says Tuvok turns on God mode. I like the way Tuvok is a captain. Now that episode where he's the captain and they're trying to figure out a way they were trying to figure out a way to save Janeway and Chakotay. I think that was poorly written and didn't come out well, but I do like Tuvok as a captain. Is there someone you would have lizard babies with? Oh, before she got into drugs, what was her name? Let's see. I forget her name. There's an actress that I think is absolutely beautiful before she got into drugs or meth or something like that. But I can't remember her name, so it doesn't matter. The EMH was the best backup captain. Not EMH, it was the CMH at that point. I find it creepy that so many admirals go bad. No, it wasn't Kes. No, not in the slightest. It wasn't Kes. This actress has never been on Star Trek. It wasn't Kes. It wasn't T'Pol. Though T'Pol is very attractive. I'd say that. Jennifer Lien is Kes. No, it wasn't. Again, it was a redhead. And she was a child actress. And then when she grew up, I thought she was a beautiful woman when she grew up. And then she got into drugs or something. And, yeah. Riker was always creepy, always hitting on crew members. He had sex with Ro Laren when their memories got wiped. Really creepy. Okay. Favorite holo program would be Vic Fontaine, hands down. I like Vic. Vic's pretty cool. And I like the things they did with Vic. I think he was a good holographic character. I thought he was a good character. And really, when you look at Vic Fontaine and you bump him up against, like, the Doctor... Lindsay Lohan. Yeah, it was Lindsay Lohan. When you bump him up against the Doctor, it's interesting to see the two, how one wants to be a real person and the other doesn't care at all. You know? I think that was intriguing. Yeah, I would... Lindsay Lohan, when she was like 18, 19, 20, even into 22 or 23, I thought she was beautiful at the time. I mean, me and her are about the same age. And lizard babies with her for days. Yeah, lizard baby with hers for days. Which starship would be the worst to serve on, in your opinion? It would be a Oberth or a Miranda class. Yeah, Oberth or Miranda would be the worst, in my opinion, to ever serve on. Simply because it's a really good, easy way to get killed. A stupid easy way. Yeah, Lindsay Lohan was a redhead, wasn't she? Let's look it up. Lindsay Lohan, 21. Yeah, she was a redhead. Yeah, I mean, before she tore her life up, that chick was gorgeous. Oberth, one-shot coffin. Yeah, so here's an interesting thing about the Oberth. I'm going to have to eat some crow, and I think I'm going to have to do a video about it at some point. I talk about how weak the Oberth is, and the Oberth is definitively a weak class. But I talk about how it was taken out by one shot, even with the shields up. And this is during, I believe, the return for Spock. And during the original series, shields didn't work the way they work in, like, The Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. So it probably didn't have its shields up, because it takes time to power shields. And so I need to eat some crow on that. But yeah, it's definitively easy to get killed. Whatever Star Trek Beverly was in command of in the future timeline would be the worst to surf on. Yeah, well, I mean, they survived at least. You know? So, I mean, you got that going for you, right? Oberths were made to die. They were made to die. That's the God's honest. I mean, you're just saying what everybody's thinking. By the way, how'd you guys like the recent board cube one? I thought that was done particularly well. And I think Fancy Teeth did a wonderful job on it. The board cube was real. I found out more information. I thought I knew all about the board cube. I did not. I feel like the Oberth is generally in the safer areas of the Federation if it's in a really rare scenario when we see it. Yeah, I mean, it is. The Oberths weren't meant to fight, so obviously they keep them deep within the Federation territory, and you wouldn't expect for there to be Klingons there, but obviously there was. Of all the Star Trek series crews, who would want to be a part of the most? Probably Deep Space Nine, for me. Prime Universe Lorca, would he have the chance for Season 2 or just have him dead? They have said that he's dead. They have continued to state that he is dead. And in the episode, there's no way he could have survived the transporter accident that occurred. Because they said he was being transported. And he was transported on when the ship was destroyed. So unless there is some magic or some tech, Prime Universe Lorca is dead. Dead. What's worse, Sulu crashing the ship as racist or Troy crashing the ship as sexist? Darth Maul, what the hell is wrong with you? What the hell? What is going on? That reminds me of the Deadpool. I've been watching a lot of Deadpool. I haven't seen Deadpool 2 yet. But I watched the clip recently where Deadpool's fighting two women. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know. What's it sexist? Is it sexist to hit you or is it more sexist not to hit you? And he's pulling out his gun and putting it to her head. Oh my God, that was hilarious. Is there anything in Star Trek like the Force? There is. It's called the Mycelium Network. Also, apparently, the Vulcans have all kinds of mind jujitsu that can you can fight and stuff and do Jedi stuff. But yeah, it's called the Mycelium Network, which works exactly like the Force, except for they haven't figured out how to control it yet. Maybe the Oberth fits the role for the transports in Star Wars do, where they are essentially sponges that take hits. Yeah, but the Oberth isn't a sponge. Star Trek magic or the writers can keep a consistent story at times. Given that, what are your thoughts on the canceled fan project Xanar? I haven't heard of the fan project Xanar, so I don't know what you're talking about. I have absolutely no. Let's see. Fan project Xanar. Or are you talking about Axanar? Because if you're talking about Axanar, I really loved Prelude to Axanar. I don't blame CBS for coming after Axanar. A lot of people get pissed off about this. I think CBS was right. And that hurts because CBS, there's a lot of things they don't do. They've stolen thousands of dollars from me. But in the issue with Axanar, I think that CBS was right to do what it did. Is there any chance of you doing John Wick lore? Probably not. I don't know how I could make that fit. And is there even John Wick lore? I don't know. America, yeah. No Deadpool 2 spoilers, please. Yeah, no Deadpool 2 spoilers in the chat. But I haven't watched it, so I wouldn't be able to give you any spoilers on it anyway. All right, guys, I think we're going to end it there. There's not really a lot more to add to it. I'm going to have specific topics going forward. I don't know if I'm going to do this next Wednesday. It depends on how you guys react to it and things. But I guess we'll just have to see to go from there. I will say this, though. Guys, thank you so much for coming. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'm going to see you on the next Lore Reloaded.